to the ground.
I've been high to complain, so I gotta go find my think I will explain why I'm talking to you. Yeah, my niggas insane, see my words because the asylum is closed and my boys with the thoughts. Could've run his mother with a pit.
Alright everybody, so welcome to episode 2 of the Mabcast, the Irish hip hop podcast, and I'm joined with the usual suspect, Luke Birmingham.
Oh, it's good, man.
Yeah, going good. So we've got a couple of topics we want to get through, but as per usual, we're going to go in and look at a couple of new songs and other ones we've been looking at from the Irish scene. So we're going to kick it off with, what one did you have in mind first?
There's a guy from Dublin I want to shout out from Dunleary named Jar One. Had actually a really nice conversation with him on Instagram, just talking about kind of music and influences and all sorts. This guy's been writing for 10 or 11 years, which for a guy his age, I don't think he's that old. 10 or 11 years of writing is really impressive. And I think you can hear that in his music. There's a lot of kind of intricate wordplay, just kind of clever lyrics. It's not kind of any kind of really generic basic rhyming scheme, which you have to give the guy credit for.
Yeah.
Beats are really nice. It's kind of, I think he's found a really interesting kind of blend between old school hip hop and kind of really grime.
Yeah.
It's like kind of grime flows over hip hop beats. It's really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of kind of music from Dublin and that sort of accent, definitely go check out Jar One. I think he's got a project on the way as well. So support his social medias, go check him out and see what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of like interpolation of different styles. You're talking about like your classic hip hop, then you talk about grime, which is a bit newer, and then you've got an Irish accent going over the top of it. It's these sort of things that we couldn't even really have imagined until now, until you've got these new genres and blend of different styles coming through. It's just interesting.
Obviously, because it makes sense. Because if you think we've all had this kind of exposure to old school hip hop, we've had exposure to grime.
Yeah.
So we're taken from all these different genres and all these different people. It makes sense that you'd kind of have a mashup of all of these with an Irish accent.
Yeah, for real.
Jar One does it seriously well.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that, and especially when we were talking about originality and doing your own thing, that very much is having your own take on a couple of different styles and adding your own flavour to it. So props to Jar One. So the next one I'm going to talk about actually comes from Nilo. So it's actually an unreleased song as of recording now, but he sent it through, and single Just My Luck he's releasing on the 15th. And personally for me, like, I thought his personality really shone through on this track. It's a bit jazzier than his usual stuff, so it's good to see a bit more experimentation. And just in terms of like the sound, it's a lot more well developed, I think, than some of the stuff in the October year. It's an interesting take on the topic of drink, where it's, it's a humorous take on it, but it's quite a serious topic. And he talks about the different beers he loves and all that kind of thing, and the tone is quite humorous, but it's refreshing to hear a humorous take on something a bit more serious and making it a bit more lighthearted. So props to him for that. I mean, the only thing that I would have a bit of a qualm with is the feature from Molly Sterling that comes through. It doesn't seem like the right fit for the song, honestly, and the vocals seem a bit almost intense for this sort of laid back, lackadaisical flow.
It didn't really need it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't question her talents or anything. I just think it wasn't the right fit for that song. So
I've been inclined to agree. That's
yeah,
fair point.
yeah.
Fair point. The next one I want to mention is by 1K3. I think that's how he's pronounced it. Ike, possibly 1K3. Champagne Popper.
Okay.
It's from the Airways phase. This is a fun song. It's a really fun song. It's a fun song that has like good lyrical content as well. The rhymes are slick, the flows are nice, and even the way he's delivering it is confident, it's cocky.
Yeah.
It's very much
everything you want in like a traditional like hip hop like influenced song.
Completely. But the beat's really nice. It's very much kind of a going out song. It's not a song to take too seriously in our kind of like, oh, this is an amazing kind of lyrical, conceptual song. It's good fun. Rhymes are clever. Beats really nice. It's mixed very well. I can't fault it. It's a great song.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, again, we talk about like the playlists and different platforms for finding new music, and it's great for doing that and bringing to the attention of people these new artists that we were even unaware of until recently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, shout out to Airwaves. That's how I found them. Big shout out to Airwaves.
Yeah, 100%. Next one I'm going to come through with is actually of a similar vein. It's by Boy Wonder and Denny Valentino, produced by LHK, who had worked on the Taxi Club project with Seventh Obie. So he's got a good amount of work and some high quality work under his belt as of last year. So the song's called Finesse, and again it follows the same vein as the last track you talked about. It's not one to sit and pensively think about in your room when you're feeling a certain way. It's more get you in the zone to go out, and if you're pissed, you're going to turn up this, you're going to
you're not trying to break it down there. You're just kind of taking it for what it is.
And that's the thing, it's a super clean song. The verses are really catchy, and Denny Valentino actually switches up his flow a couple times throughout the song, so it's nice to see that sort of thing rather than the same sort of triplet flows that we talk about that go over things. So yeah, I mean, Boy Wonder came through with a really good song last year, and that sort of made me pay attention to him. And yeah, he's very good at writing hooks. Like, he's got a talent for that, and we've talked to a couple of people that that have that talent, then he's definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Awesome. I definitely think for rappers as well, it's much harder for them to write a hook than it is to write a verse, because rapping comes naturally. That's what you love. That's what you do. But if you're trying to sing a hook, or kind of like even just figure out the format of how many bars are going into this hook, because I can't sing at the speed I rap. It's talented. I mean, to write a good hook, it's difficult, and he done it very well. The last one I want to mention is by a guy called Jay Yellowwell. It's called Oh Lord. Not really a new song. This came out, I think, the end of last year.
Yeah.
But it's a brilliant song. It's a really, really good song. The video is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy. I think he's doing politics in UCD. I mean, he's a smart cookie. But yeah, it's a brilliant song. Lyrical play is cool. He kind of switches up the flows a few times, which I rate, because it's not the easiest thing to do, especially over that beat, because it's a very kind of soulful, nearly gospel-y influence beat. It's it's different. It's different. So to hear an Irish accent over that was really cool. Again, we talk about hooks. The hook's very catchy. You'll think of it again.
Quite melodic almost at times.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, even his rapping parts have quite a nice melody to it. Like, not a massive melody, but kind of you can hear it in the background. It's there. It's really pleasant to listen to. It's a great song. And definitely go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, I think it's part of the main Me Too EP that he released.
Indeed,
so yeah, definitely check that out. I think it's Chris Cobb's on production for much of that. So he's definitely one that we've kept an eye on for a while, and we think, can move on to bigger and better things. So yeah, I think someone that's worth highlighting for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the last one I'm going to go and talk about comes from Rogan. So he wasn't someone I was aware of prior to him getting in touch, and this is the beauty of people getting in touch with us and saying check out my music. So he'd actually won the beat battle competition set up by Mathman back in January, and the song that he sent through was Useless, and his beat making abilities really shine through on that. Like, it's very clear that he's very talented. The flute sample he uses and the chords in the background are really beautiful. We had a chat about it before, and it's the mixing really that doesn't do the track justice.
It let it down, yeah. So the beat is fantastic. It's a really, really, I'd say a 10 out of 10 beat.
Yeah.
Really sounds nice. It sounds nice and full. Lots of nice little samples.
Very rich, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great beat. But what it sounds like is, for anyone that's not familiar with like recording, you'll kind of have the beat on one track, you'll make a new track, and you'll put vocals over it. So it literally just sounds like he just recorded his vocals and said done.
Yeah.
There was no mixing, no mastering, no nothing. It just kind of sounds raw, a bit unfinished vocally. So I think with a few touch-ups, it could be like a pretty solid song.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty simplistic rhyme schemes and not the best word selection, but I mean, those are things that can easily improve over time. And like we said, the beats are already there. It's just a matter of really tying those different elements together and making it just a bit of a cleaner, more perfected song, really.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm really, really impressed by all the songs that have been sent through so far. We're getting a lot coming through, and it's difficult to pick and choose, but do know that we are listening to all the songs that are sent through, and yeah, just really good to highlight some of them. Next section, we're going to go through into is drill music in Ireland. It's something that's been brought up by a lot of people.
We've had a lot of contacts of people asking us to talk about it. Like I'm obviously from London. That's where I was born, and drill music is obviously massive in London. It's a big deal. What are your initial thoughts on drill? Because you're still quite new to it. I think that's a fair statement to say.
I mean, I was pretty alien to everything about it until recently, in the last sort of year or so. I mean, obviously it derives from the Chicago scene. I'm aware of that, and it's very popular in the likes of London and things now. Sonically, I mean, it's best to kick it off that way. Sonically, there's some beats that absolutely fucking slap. Like, there's a reason that it's popular at the moment, and I think the sonic comes through. That's the reason for much of it. Some of the bars and the flows are really nice, but I think you almost need to tune your ear a little to listen to it. It is very different to a lot of the hip hop that's coming out these days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you were saying for the first few drill songs you listen to, a lot of even the slang that they use, because it's more like African London slang, which is, if you're not there or you don't know people in that sort of circle, it's going to be a bit difficult to get onto unless you're kind of literally Googling each bar one by one. So yeah, sonically pleasing. Beats are really nice. The reason drill's gotten so popular is because they're produced so well. People like hard beats, and drill is literally hard beats. My problem with drill music is that it glorifies knife crime. That's not so much of an issue in Dublin or in Ireland in general. But if you're in London and you're glorifying knife crime or glorifying violence as a reason to solve, or a way to solve problems, that is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So for you to glorify something that's so tragic and ruins people's lives, like if you go to a funeral of any young guy that's been murdered by any of these gangs or has been splashed or any of these things, you won't glorify it for a second. When you see someone's mum crying because they've lost their 15, 16, 17-year-old son for some stupid gang shit.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I think it's important to acknowledge that these guys do have talent.
Yeah.
Rapping is not easy. Even writing like poems and stuff is not easy. Never mind writing a poem to a beat. It's difficult. It really is difficult. And these guys have massive potential. They're really talented artists. They hit all the pockets. Like I'm a big fan of kind of not going kind of like the way you'd normally go over a beat. People that kind of do different flows and things.
Yeah, not going for the normalized style.
For sure.
Yeah.
And drill guys do that very, very well. A lot of them. My problem is the violence, and not only the violence, but the way the violence and what they're saying would affect young people. Because if I grow up in Tottenham, or if I grow up in any of these areas, or in Dublin, like we'll talk about guys like Ink. Like Ink's a brilliant rapper.
Yeah.
I don't agree with some of the bars. He's a brilliant rapper. For you to kind of glorify violence, if I'm a young person in this area hearing stuff like that, it's easy enough to be led one way or another.
Yeah.
And that's problematic.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that obviously a lot of the lyrics derive from a reality that a lot of people live, and that a lot of the bars reflect their reality. But in a sense, you're encouraging this culture of violence, and I understand that drill is not the cause of the violence. Like, let's put that point straight.
That's a fact. That's a complete fact,
drill is not the reason that people are committing these crimes, but it's very much encouraging a culture of violence. And it's quite often people aren't saying, they're saying, I will do this to you if you cross me, kind of thing. I will splash you, that kind of thing. It's strange to me. It's very odd, because with a lot of hip hop culture, people talk about like drugs and gang culture and stuff. And I mean, if we're bringing back to the Irish scene we're talking about in drill, a lot of this stuff that they're talking about is not happening, and like a lot of people,
not happening, yeah. So like my problem with the drill scene in Ireland is half the stuff they're saying is completely fictional.
Yeah, fabricated.
It is completely fictional. In London, the police force have units dedicated to knife crime.
Yeah.
There's guys getting stabbed and splashed and stabbed, whatever word you want to use, every single day.
Yeah.
That's not happening in Dublin. When people get shot in Dublin, it makes news because it's a big deal, and it's like, oh my God, this is horrendous, this is awful. It doesn't even make the news in London because it's so common. People are completely numb to it at this stage just because it's such a common thing. So for you to try and bring a culture that's completely toxic and ruins lives into a city where it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because
keep that as far away from Dublin as you humanly can, because we've got enough problems. We've got a healthcare crisis, housing crisis, all sorts of crises. We don't need a fucking knife crisis thrown into that.
Yeah, and I think that it's almost trying to sell this lifestyle, because like we say, a lot of this isn't actually happening. It's like the likes of A$AP Rocky talked about how he never actually sipped lean, but he talks about it in his songs because it's what sells, whereas these guys are talking about violence and murking people.
Exactly. See, lean,
but it's not happening.
See, well, things like lean and drugs, okay, people can take them like for fun and stuff. Okay, lean's obviously taken lots of lives and it's caused a lot of damage. The same with all those drugs. Guys are dying every single day for this bullshit.
Yeah.
For stupid gangs, turf wars, all this bullshit. Young people are dying. All right, that's different to drugs. It's not something to glorify, because there's no, like, we'll say if you take drugs and it doesn't kill you, you'll have a high for a while and it's a bit of fun and then you'll come down.
Yeah.
If you die, you die.
You're dead.
That's it. There's no up there. It's all down. And it's down for everyone around them.
Yeah, and I think the commercial viability for drill, is quite high. We're looking at these guys like Russ over in London, who's, supporting shows at the O2, doing big numbers. Like the guy JB2 has got a song with him with nearly 5 million hits on YouTube. And it's like, there's obviously a real market for selling this type of music. And for a lot of people, it's probably a way out in terms of having an opportunity to do something different and not get involved in the violence. So for people to add the violent nature into the songs, it's unnecessary for me. I mean, sometimes it's reflective of a reality, but to actively encourage it is harmful. Irresponsible. Yeah, irresponsible.
Sure. And I'll tell you what the problem is, all right? Or no, what the problem is, what the solution is. When grime first came out and grime's first started becoming a thing, it was too violent for white people. And if you compare old grime with current drill, old grime is about a 3 out of 10 on the violent scale. Today's drill was about a 10 out of 10. If the 3 out of 10 was too violent for the white people, what guys... Exactly. This is too much.
Yeah.
So what guys like Wiley done, big shout out to Wiley, he started making these like Ibiza holiday club anthems, Wearing My Rolex, Heatwave, all these ones, and the white people loved it.
Yeah, they come from.
And then the white people embraced that culture, and then he went back to doing what he was doing because he already had them on side.
Yeah.
So that's what drill could really learn from. And shout out to guys like, who have we got? Russ, perfect example. What's the guy from Section Boys? Or 6'7", LD? Yeah, LD. My apologies, LD. These are all guys that are kind of taking that step back from the gang, murders, splashing, all this sort of stuff. They're taking that step back to completely go, not completely commercial, because they're staying true to their sound. Yeah. It's still drill beats, it's still drill flows, but they're not saying harmful things to get that commercial push. Russ is making more money. Russ is more successful. Russ is getting more connections. Russ is getting more gigs. Yeah. He's making money and he's escaping. People who make songs about splashing don't get booked for shows. Because if I own a venue and I get approached by these guys saying, oh, look, we'd like to play in your venue on this date, and I go and check their music, I'll be like, no, I'm all right. I don't fancy having people that claim to be criminals in my venue because I'm not sure what sort of audience that's gonna like attract. Yeah. So I'm trying to keep my venue safe. If you make not commercial music, but commercially acceptable music, that's the key factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's removing the violent element of it. We're not trying to tell them to change sonically. Like, you don't have to do that. But like you said, the success of the likes of Wiley and stuff doing that, you don't necessarily have to do it, but it's an option. But all you have to do is remove the antagonizing lyrics that are encouraging this sort of culture and this violence. I mean, it's difficult because art's subjective, and you should be allowed to do what you want, but I think people that have this platform have to be very wary of what they're sharing
and how much influence they have. Like in the UK, they tried to ban drill music.
People are banned from making music, so that's that whole no face, no case thing.
Yeah. So they are bans. That's very much been enforced. I don't think banning people is the answer. The same way when like drugs get banned, nearly drug use goes up.
People have been finding ways to do things they're not supposed to do for hundreds of years. They're not gonna be able to stop that sort of thing now.
Completely. So that's obviously not gonna work. It's it's pointless. It's a waste of time, etc., etc. The best way forward for drill is to just tone down the violence, because that's MP's problem. That's the reason it all got banned in the first place, because white people in rich neighborhoods hear this, who work in politics, and they're like, oh, it's ghastly, it's awful. So it gets banned. But if you kind of like, people have been rapping about drugs, expensive clothes, nice cars, women for time. All right, that's nothing new. Yeah, that's not controversial anymore. No, but it's the graphic now. Even like talking about doing bad things to people has always been a part of rap. The problem with drill is it's so specific. Yeah, it's not that this guy's going to die if he keeps talking about me. It's
name dropping people. It's like
I'm going to
specific
find
references.
Yeah, this is how long the blade is going to be. You'll be in your house in front of this person, and this is what I'm going to do. It's very specific. And that's the problem. So it's just, drill culture has a massive potential to get a bigger audience because of the sonic, the way it sounds. It sounds really pleasing. It's hard. It's energy. That's what we always talk about with live shows. Yeah. It's energy. Just like they can rap. They're just talented guys, but they're not going to give themselves that chance to get to the stage that they could go to when they rap about dumb shit.
Yeah. And I mean, just keeping it relevant to the Dublin scene. It's so raw, but there's so much potential already, and not specifically the Dublin scene, sorry, the Irish scene, because it's going on a lot elsewhere. But it's that commercial viability, and it's setting off on the right foot, isn't it? It's taking the right steps forward, because you see these guys like that are from Dare Fact TV that are making connections, doing big numbers on YouTube, and obviously there is a commercial viability for it. It's lead the kids in the right direction, you know what I mean?
Completely. And bring it back to the Dublin scene again. Yeah. Don't talk about shit you don't do. Yeah. Because you're not going to win Grammys, you're not going to win Mobos, you're going to start winning Oscars. Because it's not credible. You're bringing a really toxic culture to somewhere where it doesn't exist. Like I said, we've got enough problems. Stick to doing what you're good at. You're a really good rapper. You make really good beats. Your whole circle has massive potential. Stop saying shit you don't do that can incriminate you or get you in hassle. Make good music. Make positive music, talk about all the shit you want to talk about. Just stop talking about splashing people up.
I mean, I think like it's important to have space for art to vent your frustrations, because I mean that's what people have been doing since music began. Hip hop came out of frustration of political systems. I mean, punk music, all these different genres are venting frustrations at discrepancies people have, and they're very valid discrepancies, but it's using it in a positive light and not making threats to other gang members and things like that. It's more trying to bring the culture forward and trying to give your people a voice, I think.
Because that knife crime was there before there was drill music.
Yeah.
It's the problem is they're giving exposure to crime and potentially making it worse because they're giving more exposure to it and people are getting more influenced by it. Like, bring it back to the Dublin scene and stuff. You will not glorify that if your mate dies. You will, if you see your mum's friend bawling her eyes out at her son's funeral and her son was in his early 20s, you're not going to glorify that. This is not cool. This is not something to talk about. And like what you were saying, it was really cool. There's all sorts of videos on Instagram from Cadet's funeral, and rest in peace to Cadet, amazing artist. But his mum gave a really nice speech at his funeral, and obviously Cadet didn't die to knife crime. If you don't know who Cadet is, he died in a car accident. So his mum was talking about saying, look, it's so important for young men to really talk about and vent their frustrations and their feelings, because that's what a lot of Cadet's music was. Like he's got one amazing one that I forgot about and discovered again on Instagram, him talking about as a kid on his birthday, waiting for his dad to show up and he didn't, which is such a topical thing, especially for young black males, not having their father around. That's such a common thing. And it's a brilliant way to vent, to write your thoughts, put it to music and make something that's really personal and special to you. Splashing people's not special to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to, it's different when you're talking about things that are happening. I think it's important to highlight that there is knife crime going on, and that is something that does exist. There's no point ignoring that reality, but it's like you said, it's when you glorify it and you try to encourage this culture to exist rather than, because it's important to highlight, different discrepancies and different disparities that exist, but glorifying it is not the way to go. And I think that's the point we're trying to make in general. It's
sure.
I don't think it's fair to tell people to not talk about what's going on. It's more the tone that
threats,
you use. Yeah.
So yeah, like I think to wrap it up, I think I can speak for both of us on our thoughts that drill has massive potential. Drill is a very popular sound. It's a pop-in sound at the moment.
Yeah.
It's got massive potential. Let it have the potential that it deserves by just toning it down a bit. That's all it needs. That's all it needs, and then it's set to soar.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, moving to more the industry side of things in terms of drill in Ireland, like, I mean, you look at these groups like Dear Fact TV that are bringing real structure to the industry, because hip hop's at a real primitive stage in Ireland where there's not a lot of structural industry connections across the water and things like that. Sure. And because the drill scene's doing numbers, they're able to build these bridges across the water, get connections, so they're collaborating over in London, over in Dublin, and I think that's super important because they're bringing this more organized approach to music rollout, marketing. The videos have to be high quality to even be posted on Dear Fact TV, so it's encouraging artists in Ireland to really up their game, because that is something that's severely lacking, and we talked about before. Songs can be banging, and then people bring out these really low quality, shitty music videos that look like they're filmed on like someone's fucking potato. Do you know what I mean? or like a shit camera on their phones. Sure. People really need to up their game, and platforms like this are really encouraging people to do so.
Yeah, definitely quality is something, visuals especially. If you're not sure of a video, or you do it in one take, if a video takes you one day to film, you shouldn't post it. If you're shooting a video in one place and it takes you one day to do it, don't post a video because it's not good. I can tell you in advance, it's not good.
Yeah,
it's not. Because we'll talk about guys like, we'll say Jafari's.
Yeah.
He's the guy at the moment for visuals and visual content. Shout out to Nathan Ivor. He does a lot of his visual work. Big shout out to him. But the guy flew to LA for his time video. The video was crazy. And obviously, a lot of people don't have the budget to fly to LA. But even as ones shot in Dublin, they're creative. They're really high quality, different angles, a few effects going here and there. There's effort and time that goes into it. Standing in front of a camera and giving all this for a minute, it just doesn't constitute a video. It's not creative enough. Get on to people, even if it's a case of, look, I'm going to have to take up a part-time job, just working a Saturday, just kind of get a few bob in, and actually pay someone to get a really good project out. If you're serious about this, really pay someone to make a solid project for you, like a visual project. And it's a massive way forward. I mean, it's a massive way to get on these platforms because people will take you more seriously if you're putting more time into like quality content.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For me, it doesn't come down to like the time frame it's recorded in. It's just the quality, because I've met people who said, we shot this in X amount of time, and you're like astounded. It's more the effort and the time that goes into it, because like we said, it's probably paying someone to do it for you. In all honesty, if you're not a visual artist, it's probably not worth your time even attempting to do it. Because
fair point.
if you're trying to take it seriously and get yourself to a higher platform, I mean, we talked about Kojak before, the level of those videos. I mean, not a lot of people are going to be able to reach that sort of level themselves. So it's getting involved and building your network as an artist as well. Like, because you look at the likes of Brockhampton and other groups like that, they're more of a network of different artists. You know, you've got sound engineers, you've got people that can mix, you've got people that produce the songs, singers, graphic designers, videographers. You know, it's building your network because doing it all yourself, it can be tiring. And even when I started doing Mabfield stuff, I was doing it all myself, and it's like bringing in other people who have different skills and qualities to build it up.
For sure. Like, if we talk about Kojak, because he's a really good example, because he's Irish, etc. Date Night, the video done with Luca Palm, brilliant video, zero budget. He made that entire video with zero budget, which is really, really impressive. So what I think is way more important than having money is networking. Like we're going to talk about Summer in Ireland after this. Events like that are fantastic.
Yeah.
For just networking with people, getting onto producers, videographers, photographers, everything that build your brand. Focus on working on your brands as much as you work on your music.
Yeah.
Because as much as your sound is important, your visual and how you come across on Instagram, Twitter, etc., is as important.
And it's maybe something that that we don't want to admit is true, but it's like if you come across someone's like Graham and it's like not got any game whatsoever, you come across like their Twitter and their pictures are bad or anything along those lines, you're less likely to click on people. And that's just the day and world we live in at the moment, where everything is, you know, we've got such short attention spans and we need to be like enticed straight away.
Yeah, and like that's where like the high quality comes into it as well. Like if you're taking like bare selfies and just posting them, it's just a feed of your face, then it's just a bit dead.
Yeah.
That's why, again, Summer in Ireland is so good. Even just to take pictures of that, have pictures with notable people. So when people go on your profile, it says, oh, he's got a picture with Mango, he's got a picture with Hazy, he's got all these different guys, you know. It's
how you present yourself, and it's how you sell yourself to other people, because I mean, you're creating an image that you want people to buy into, and if you're just posting like low quality selfies on your Instagram, you know that you need to be rethinking your brand and your image. It goes a long way.
It kind of goes back to when you'd first put records out to labels back before kind of Twitter and Instagram and stuff as a thing. Is that when you'd send a record to a label, you have 20 seconds for them to be interested. If they're not interested in 20 seconds, that's it.
They're moving on to the next one that they've
got
through.
no time for it, because if you haven't got them in that, there's no reason for them to keep listening. So if you apply that same thing to your Instagram and the way you present your brand online, you've got 20 seconds for people to quickly scan through, have a couple swipes, look at your story. Is this person someone who's credible? Is this someone who's actually making moves and doing important things? Or is he just another person who's putting out songs on his SoundCloud and trying to fit into a scene that he doesn't?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's the bigger picture nowadays. You need to, because so many people can do it independently now, and you don't need a record label, and there is the potential of using the online capabilities to sort of get yourself out there. You really need to become a master of your social media game. It's so important, and it's hard to do by yourself, and that's why we're saying you got to bring in other people who are experts.
Network,
you know,
network with people, because a lot of people don't charge. Like a lot of people that got in contact with us, offering to help, they weren't looking for money. It's a whole collective. It's DIY. That's what this whole culture is, which I think is really cool. That it's not people kind of leeching off each other. It's just we're all looking to benefit off each other. Because if I make you a good video and you post that and that does well, that's promotion for my name, and that grows my brand. Your music is as important as your brand, and a lot of people don't do that. They'll make really good music, and their brand and the way they pitch themselves is weak. So it's really, really 50-50. It's like they're both equally as important. So just networking, go to these gigs, meet people, text people on Instagram, email people, and work together. That's the way anything grows. It's teamwork.
Yeah, and I think that the Summer in Ireland gig really embodied that collective spirit that we're talking about and encouraged more collaboration between people. I mean, the amount of artists that I'd met that I'd only spoken to online, but you get speaking to them and you really click, and it's that sort of thing. It makes you more invested in the person as well. But like, what was it, 14, 15 different acts that were playing on the night? Yeah. It's insane, and it's sort of, like you said before, it had that sort of cypher element to it, where it was just one on, one off, one on, one off, coming back and forth, throwing bars back at each other, and the energy was just incredible.
For sure. I mean, a massive shout out to Brand Source and the guys from Sash FM, Prescription, all those guys. I mean, the way that it was organised, the venue was perfect, the sound, it sounded amazing. The DJs they had were fantastic. There wasn't a single aspect of that entire night that I could fault, genuinely. They presented it so well. The variety of acts, it wasn't all one genre. You'd go from like really hard, grimy beats to like nearly comedy rap with some of the guys from Limerick, the guys at TPM. Yeah, they take it very seriously, but it's funny. It genuinely is funny stuff.
Lighter-hearted stuff.
For sure. It's really brilliant. So the whole range of stuff they had. And that's why those network things are brilliant. Because if you make grime music, you'll meet people that make grime music. If you make like soul R&B music, you'll meet guys that do that. Everyone is there. Everyone goes to these things. So by you going and showing your face, it's oh, hey, I'm so-and-so. And then people, I spoke to you on Instagram. Like the amount of people I met at Somewhere in Islands that I've never actually spoken to or been on the phone with, and they were like, oh, it's nice to put like a face to a name.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And it's super interesting because you go to these things and you're almost wondering what the people are going to be like performance-wise, because a lot of these people, I'd listen to the music, like for example, Laurie Crack, I'd listen to a couple of his songs, the likes of Siren, he had a new one out with Kid V, that I wasn't so sure about, and I was kind of thinking, what's he going to be like live? He fucking killed it. It was so good. Like the back and forth he had with the other MC, forgive me, I forget his name, but it was Just G.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. It's just that energy they bring that we talked a lot about. It's getting those live shows in to get that live experience that you can, once you have the popularity and you can book these shows, that you can actually deliver to the audience that have been listening to you online.
Sure. That's another thing that he had that a lot of other acts lacked on a little bit, is stage presence. Stage presence is so important. It's the way you command the stage, the way you present yourself. Again, it's your brand. If you're talking about on your song how you're the shit and you're the guy and you're confident and stuff, and then on the stage you're just kind of standing still and just kind of nodding your head, your music doesn't, like what
reflect
you're saying,
the
doesn't
personality
convey.
that you're trying to sell.
Exactly. So kind of study people that make the music. Look how they move on stage. Look how they get the crowd engaged. It's so important because you need to portray what you're saying, and if you're not, then it looks a bit false and people aren't going to buy it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it was the perfect showcase event, I think, because it featured artists from, I mean, Limerick, you've got the likes of Hoover and Hazy, we talked about
Big shout out to
before.
Hoover, by the way.
Yeah,
Hoover is, as a rapper, not as someone that makes hip-hop music, as a rapper, that guy is nuts.
Yeah.
He's absolutely, because I spoke to him afterwards, and I was I kind of introduced myself. I'm like, Islands Pusha T.
Yeah.
Because he's this lyrical assassin, really hard flows, intricate things. Like even what's the one he posts on his Instagram? Like, you can start your little rumors. We're going to end it with facts.
Yeah,
it's just all these bars, and you're like, yes, like this is the shit. It was really, really cool.
But it was good. That's what I mean. It's just cool to get these various different styles, different artists come from different places, and just getting them all in one room, so you can really feel how different and how varied the styles are across the Emerald Isle. And it'd be really interesting, I think, to get more collaborative things going on like that, because it's going to encourage more discussion and more collaboration between these artists. I mean, we've seen Laurie Crack and Upbeat do that song together that they'd done, and it's like, when else are you going to get to see this sort of thing when we don't have enough events?
Two people in the same spot at the same time.
You need to have them in the same place to be able to do these sort of things.
And that goes back to what I was saying just about teamwork. So everyone bounces off each other. And even if someone was to do that gig, we'll say, just give an example, Upbeat, because I know him. Right, if he was to do that place by himself, he'd get a decent crowd. If Upbeat does that song, and if Upbeat sets up a gig, gets Laurie Crack in, gets Invader Slim in, gets Hoover in, that's bringing like 3 or 4 different audiences all for the one night, and you can guarantee a packed crowd.
Yeah.
That's why working together is so important, because that Irish scene isn't built up enough yet to really pack out shows every single night.
And you'd be pretty sure that you're going to get someone that maybe has heard of, say, Upbeat but hasn't heard of Laurie Crack, but there's a very good chance they're going to enjoy both artists' musics, and it's trying to almost bring over their audience that you're pretty sure they're going to enjoy your stuff. It's just getting your name out there, and that's I mean, I guess the way you've got to do it. Again,
that's marketing. It's like it doesn't make sense if you're a hip hop act and you're getting like a folk bands to open for you. That doesn't make sense. Like, that's not going to work because the two energies are different. So if you're saying, okay, I make trap music, I make hype music that's just to like drive to get people going, who can I think of that's like that? 1K3, any of these guys that are kind of reach out to people that make similar music to you to make your nights pop. Because that's the same thing. Even if you look to the States, that J. Cole got Pusha T for his tour. Yeah, they're similar, both lyrical, both kind of old school beats, and that's why people that may not have known Pusha T see him live and like, okay, this guy is sick, and after the gig they'll look him up. That's how it works.
I was actually at one of them shows, and it was mad. Like, they had Pusha T open it up, and he did like couple of different tunes, and the energy was just mad, and I was just so ready then for J. Cole to come on, and it's like, they're very different artists, but it's getting that audience that loves J. Cole to see Pusha T. That's how he's going to get, and that's why people are support acts for all these people. Get someone in on this sort of thing and get it popping, you know what I mean?
And because they have stage presence.
Exactly.
Pusha T has stage presence. He gets everyone going. So even if you don't know Pusha T, if you go to a Pusha T gig and there's someone on after, you are ready for that set after.
100%.
So I think that's pretty much it, man. We talked about Summer in Ireland. Like I said, big shout out to Brown Sauce, Sesh FM, Prescription. Keep doing that. We need more of that. That was it was an amazing night. We talked about drill. We talked about some new songs that we listened to. We've kind of covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, we're just hopefully going to get some guests on in the future, and we're just sort of planning and working around that. But in general, I think, I think we pretty much covered everything we want to get into there.
Yeah, definitely guests is going to be the next thing, and events. So I hate using this phrase. Watch this space.
Yeah.
Definitely we're in contact with different
venues, artists, venues. Visual. I mean, we'll not let the cat out of the bag yet, but we've got some ideas, and we're hopefully going to get this.
Lots of talks, and we're hoping to have the first event in the next kind of 2 months. That'll be our maximum time span. So definitely, if you're not following the Mabfield Twitter and Instagram, please do, because that's where we're going to post everything. And lots of stuff on the way.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.